How many more residents, how many more Americans need to die or get badly hurt for this operation to end?
Tonight, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey speaking out in frustration about the second fatal shooting by a federal agent this month in the Twin Cities. A 37-year-old man died after a shooting involving a Border Patrol agent, spurring more protests there as well as across the country. Here in Portland, hundreds are protesting in front of the ICE facility on South McAdam. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight at 11 on your Saturday. I'm Barry Mangold. We're going to be showing you the scene here in Portland live in just a minute. But first, we got to learn more about the man who died in a hospital after being shot multiple times by immigration officers. The Department of Homeland Security says the man approached Border Patrol officers with a gun, and they shot him during a struggle to disarm him. DHS has not said whether the man pointed the weapon at agents or brandished it before the gunshots. The Minneapolis police chief said the man had a license to carry a gun. Protesters swarming that shooting scene shortly after. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called the shooting horrific and said that he asked the White House to pull immigration officers out of the state. And again, this is the second fatal shooting involving federal officers in Minneapolis in less than 3 weeks there. 37-year-old Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE agent on January 7th when federal officials say that she tried to run over an agent with her car. Minnesota officials dispute that claim and say the shooting was not justified. And again, today we are learning that relatives of the man who was killed say that he was 37-year-old Alex Pretti, an ICU nurse who was protesting immigration enforcement. DHS claims he had a gun and officers fired defensive shots. Witnesses say that is not what happened. And here is video of that shooting that we've gotten a hold of. It appears to show someone in the street filming federal agents, that is, when Alex Pretti and another person were hit with pepper spray. Pretti and the other person went to the ground where agents surrounded them and jumped on top of Pretti. At least one officer hit him multiple times. Video from one angle appears to show an agent take Pretti's handgun before any shots were fired, but that has not been confirmed by officials. We also see an agent fire what sounds like 10 shots in rapid succession as Pretti is on the ground. And tonight we are getting very different descriptions from Minnesota and DHS. Listen.
During this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots.
I just saw a video of more than 6 masked agents pummeling one of our constituents and shooting him to death.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz insisting the state will investigate this, but DHS officials are reportedly blocking state investigators from the scene despite a court warrant. President Trump reacted to the shooting on Truth Social tonight, saying, quote, "Much of what you're witnessing is a cover-up for this theft and fraud," referring to the recent child care fraud activity in Minnesota. He went on to say, quote, "The mayor and the governor are inciting an insurrection with their pompous, dangerous, and arrogant rhetoric." His post included the picture of the gun DHS officials say was recovered from the man shot and killed. Today, he claimed, Trump did, that Governor Walz and Mayor Frey were not allowing police to protect ICE officers. Both the governor and mayor have called for federal agents to leave the state and city. Here in Portland, hundreds of people gathered for a spontaneous protest at the ICE facility in response to today's deadly shooting in Minneapolis. Our crews at the scene have watched protesters cross the property line to the federal facility, walking right up to the gates of the building. Portland police already warning the crowd tonight that anyone blocking the road or barricading the doors could be arrested. We have K2's Jennifer Singh joining us live from the ICE facility right now. So, Jen, this is far from your first time at an ICE protest. Describe the crowd there tonight and what you're seeing now.
Well, Barry, the crowd has dwindled a bit. There are probably around 100 people here. We saw those numbers get up to well over 300 earlier, if we have to take a guess. Now, you can see people are not up to the property line right now, but throughout the evening, we've been seeing crowds of people go up to the gates, even pushing on the gates. Actually, you can see one person who's picking up tear gas and other chemical weapon canisters. You can see I have this gas mask here with me. We've had to use this a number of times tonight, and this is also one of the reasons why we've been told this is a tear gas canister. It has gone off, so that's why we're able to hold it safely right now. But we've seen a different approach from both protesters and federal agents tonight. Protesters have been throwing things back, once again pushing up to the gates. Normally, we've been seeing if anyone crosses the blue line, they're subject to arrest. And then federal agents have been in the back, first of all, starting off by deploying chemical weapons inside of the gates and having it waft out to protesters. Protesters responding by waving it back with their signs. It wasn't until earlier this evening, maybe around 8 o'clock, that we first saw federal agents come out, deploy tear gas, flashbangs, pepper balls, and other chemical munitions. Now, we have not seen anyone detained this evening. Typically, like I said, once you cross that blue line, we've seen that's when people are targeted for arrest. One other thing I do want to know, we did see people earlier trying to rip off the wood of the side of the building, as well as throwing rocks and other items at the security camera to knock it down. People have been banging on the doors all day. Now, I did speak with one person who had one of these chemical weapons deployed on her, and she talked about that. Take a listen.
It's disgusting. It's abysmal. It's anti-American. We have a First Amendment right to peacefully protest and to assemble. And we've been screaming. Sure, we have our little signs, but it's disgusting. It's completely un-American. We should be able to assemble in front of a federal building and give our peace of mind without being assaulted by less than lethal weapons.
And like you said earlier, Barry, Portland police did mention earlier, they posted on X that anyone barricading or interfering with the gates in the entrance here could be subject to arrest. We did see one person detained by Portland police. It is still unconfirmed to us what they were arrested for, but of course we'll keep you updated with any developments. For now, we'll keep you updated with any developments also online. For now, live in South Portland, Jennifer St, K2 News. Back to you, Barry.
Certainly an active scene there, Jennifer. Thank you. And local members of Congress are also responding to today's fatal shooting in Minnesota by a federal officer. Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon saying online, quote, "Horrific, another senseless execution of a citizen by Trump's lawless federal agents. Federal agents are terrorizing communities in Minnesota, Oregon, and across the country." Washington Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez also responding to that shooting, saying it's unacceptable to have another needless death in Minnesota, and it's unacceptable to have elected officials and others continue to throw gas on this fire or tacitly encourage assaults on law enforcement and anyone else. The situation is un-American, and Secretary Noem needs to step down. And at a press conference today, Oregon Governor Tina Kotek said that the cruelty coming from the federal government needs to stop. She said, quote, "All immigrants are part of our community all across Oregon, everywhere." Also, she said that immigrants built Oregon and that we need to protect each other. Kotek also said that she is directing the Office of Immigration and Refugee Advancement to understand the problem on the ground. K2 is actively tracking the latest developments in this story, both in Minnesota and in Oregon. For more of our coverage, head to KATU.com.
It's not going to stop unless everybody gets out in the streets.
After another person was shot and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. Here's a look at the scene. Hundreds and marched on city streets with signs bearing the names of both people killed in Minneapolis. Glad you're with us tonight. Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Esteban. We'll get to the protest that happened here in Seattle in just a moment. But first, let's break down what we know about what happened in Minneapolis today. Less than 3 weeks after an ICE agent shot and killed 37-year-old Renee Good, today we learned 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretti was fatally shot as well. Witness video shows the suspect in the street filming agents when Pretti and another person were hit with pepper spray. They went to the ground. The video shows agents surrounded Pretti and jumped on top of him. At least one officer hit him with multiple blows. Video from one angle appears to show an agent take Pretti's gun before any shots were fired, but that has not been confirmed. Then you hear what sounds like 10 shots in rapid succession as the man is on the ground. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem insisting today that Pretti meant to harm federal agents.
I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign.
The Minneapolis police chief says the department believes Pretti is a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry. Governor Walz has demanded the investigation into today's shooting be led by the state of Minnesota rather than the Trump administration.
Federal government cannot be trusted to lead this investigation. The state will handle it, period.
The officer linked to the deadly shooting is an 8-year Border Patrol veteran. That's according to federal officials. He has not been identified. It's unclear of his work status tonight. We have seen protests in cities from coast to coast, New York City, LA, DC, and right here in Seattle. KOMO's Tyler Cunnington spoke to people who were outside the federal building downtown calling for immigration agents to be held accountable. Tyler.
Well, that's right, Michelle. And this is the second time in just over 2 weeks that people have come to the Henry L. Jackson Federal Building in downtown due to federal agents shooting and killing U.S. citizens in just the city of Minneapolis alone. The emotions once again surging tonight for those in our region who felt compelled they needed to speak out.
I want to say we're grieving because we are. We're grieving the loss of a human life. But I also want to say that we're past grieving, that we're angry, that we're really, really angry, that we're fed up.
City traffic cameras capturing what some protesters say was a gathering of around 500 tonight, while organizers estimated that figure was upwards of 1,000. The crowd spilling into 2nd Avenue and other streets, blocking traffic at one point. From there, the group marched around several blocks, prompting Seattle police SUVs to help block off the street. Protesters called out what they say is the escalation of violence by federal agents against U.S. citizens. A memorial created with candles and photos of people who have died as a result of that violence. Whether it was the killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis earlier this month at the hands of an ICE agent, or the killing of that 37-year-old ICU nurse this morning while on the ground, surrounded by several federal agents, organizers here in Seattle say they won't stand for it.
We have to keep fighting. We have to keep taking to the streets. We have to organize. We have to come together and have community and organize.
And those that we talked to afterwards say that this was a peaceful gathering there outside the federal building. We have reached out to SPD to confirm whether or not they had any issues or arrests or any other kinds of disruptions outside of course, that group marching into the street. However, as you can see, those SUVs eventually took control and blocked off that road. However, we have not heard back from them, and we will update that to our website when we do. Reporting live here in Seattle tonight, Tyler Cunnington, KOMO News.
Tyler, thanks very much. Leaders here locally and across the state responding to the second shooting in Minneapolis. Governor Bob Ferguson posted on X, quote, "Another person shot by ICE agents, another life lost. Our descent into authoritarian rule continues. This is a dark chapter in our history of America." Washington Republican Party Chair, State Representative Jim Walsh, responded directly to the governor, saying, quote, "ICE agents are enforcing the law. The left is turning up the deceitful rhetoric." Senator Maria Cantwell posted this: "President Trump has crossed the line. Americans will not stand for massed armed troops roaming their neighborhoods." And one of Washington's 2 Republican representatives also condemning the shooting tonight, saying this in a post: "I'm disturbed by what I've seen from today's video from Minnesota. It's critically important that the American people and Congress be given a better understanding of how immigration enforcement is being handled." Also today, dozens gathered for a march and rally protesting President Trump's agenda at ICE at Fireman's Park. That was in Tacoma, happened this afternoon. This event was planned before today's shooting, but only intensified the feelings of protesters that we spoke to. You can download anytime the KOMO News app to track the shooting, the latest reaction in Minneapolis, Seattle, and around the country. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll post the latest on our KOMO News app, and we do put extended interviews on the KOMO YouTube channel.
Right now, streets closed in downtown Salt Lake for a protest over the latest deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Malahi.
And I'm Mika Miyashima. People gathered and marched near Salt Lake's federal building. They're out there now calling for accountability and an end to ICE. Our Christian Sita is live downtown for us. Christian.
Mika, Brian, now that protest is still continuing this evening. Now I do want to show you what we're seeing here on State Street. You can see plenty of protesters. Looks like there's hundreds of people holding signs, marching and chanting. Now this started just before 3 p.m. and they were at the federal building where they demonstrated before walking down these streets. Now organizers say the event was held in response to what they describe as the public killing of a U.S. citizen by ICE agents in Minnesota. Chanting and holding signs reading "I stand with Minnesota, stop the cruelty and abolish ICE." Protesters marched from the WLOS federal building to the Federal Immigration Office. Organizers call the rally an emergency response, saying the Minneapolis incident reflects a broader pattern of violence by federal immigration enforcement.
Killing American citizens. This is not making America great.
Now, as you can see, the protest is still going on. It's been pretty peaceful so far. And again, they did march from the federal building to the field immigration building here in Salt Lake City. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Christian Sita, KUTV 2 News.
Okay, Christian, and more tonight on 2 News at 10. And there is other fallout today from the second deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis in weeks. A federal judge says Homeland Security cannot destroy evidence in the shooting of Alex Pretti.
The investigation may center on videos in the moments before an ICE agent fired. Reports say videos show Pretti had a cell phone, not a gun, when he was shot.
I've got a question for all of you. What side do you want to be on? The side of an all-powerful federal government that can kill, injure, menace, and kidnap its citizens off the streets? Or on the side of a nurse at the VA hospital who died bearing witness to such government? Or the side of a mother whose last words were, "I'm not mad at you"?
Governor Walz pointing to a witnessed video saying Pretti had protested peacefully when officers tackled, then shot him. A Border Patrol commander, meanwhile, says Pretti put himself in that situation and that the victims are, quote, the Border Patrol agents. The officer who shot and killed Alex Pretti is an 8-year Border Patrol veteran. He has not been identified.
It's unknown if he's been taken off patrol or placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Minnesota investigators say the feds blocked access to the shooting scene.
When our team arrived, they were blocked by federal agents with the Department of Homeland Security from accessing the scene. Our team also secured a search warrant for the scene, which is an unusual move in a public area like that, but we did that attempting to have judicial approval to enter this scene to gather evidence. We were once again blocked by federal authorities to go in and do that scene examination.
The local county attorney is conducting its own investigation, and the lead prosecutor says it has other evidence. The White House and DHS have accused Minnesota leaders of not working with ICE on deportation efforts.
This is the third ICE shooting in Minneapolis in less than several weeks. 37-year-old Renee Good shot and killed early January when ICE says she tried to run an agent over with her car, a claim Minnesota disputes. Then an ICE agent shot a man who was in the country illegally after he and 2 others were accused of attacking that agent while he tried to make an arrest. And Democrats are now threatening a partial government shutdown over funding for ICE.
Senator Chuck Schumer says a bill before Congress is inadequate to, quote, rein in the abuses of ICE. Other Democrats echo him. Last week, the House passed a measure to keep the federal government open past next Saturday. A key Republican in the Senate says GOP members are exploring all options to avoid a shutdown.
And here in Utah, a Salt Lake area real estate development firm says it will not sell one of its buildings to the federal government for an ICE detention center.
The Ritchie Company says there is no deal to sell property at 1199 North, 6880 West. This is west of the airport. Demonstrators this week rallied against the ICE center outside of Ritchie Group offices.
Saturday afternoon, the company called for civil and respectful dialogue when it announced that the Ritchie Group and its investors have no plans to sell or lease the property in question to the federal government.